The price of tariffs making its mark on Wall Street.
Again, there'll be a transition cost and transition problems, but in the end, it's going to be a beautiful thing.
As the world and Wall Street watch the markets, what does this mean for the state's economy? Property tax relief, public schools, border security. There's a plan on how the state uses its money for the next 2 years, where it's going, and the debates that played out at the Capitol.
It's wrong. It's dead wrong. If you're gonna cut stuff, look at who you're cutting.
She survived cancer, and now she's hoping she can get by. She's already been impacted by cuts that helped her buy food. We take a look at the direct hit to families and food banks.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. It's been a volatile week in the stock market after President Donald Trump announced his plan to impose widespread tariffs on imported goods. Investors appear pessimistic that despite the president lowering many of his new tariffs, there's still no end in sight to the trade war with China. The president also keeping new baseline 10% tariffs in place along with previous tariff rounds, including on Mexico and Canada. But how does the current plan affect Texas? Joining us for some insight is the Texas Comptroller Glen Hegar. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Good to be with you.
So we've been watching the impacts of the tariffs on a national scale, but what does it mean for the state? Have you been keeping track of any of those trade disruptions?
Yeah, we constantly track all things that impact the state of Texas, all across all 12 economic regions, whether that's trade, any other issues, both nationally and globally. Obviously, Texas is a significant trading partner with the rest of the world. Texas exports roughly over 20% of all the gross value of exports out of the entire United States comes out of the state of Texas. So we're very tied to the international market.
Let's hone in on oil. We know that prices fell below $60, the lowest in years. What's the latest forecast, and do you have a message for those industries?
Yeah, so first and foremost, the fact that they have lowered that, obviously oil and gas is one of the more volatile commodities that's out there. So if they decrease or increase by a significant amount, that doesn't mean we automatically revise our revenue estimate. We watch it over several times. What is that longer term trend? And so therefore, right now, those are lower prices. But the point is, we're not changing the revenue estimate as today. We're being cautious. We're watching, continue to caution the legislature as always to be conservative in their budgeting numbers, because we're given a revenue estimate that is a very long window out for over 2 years. And so therefore a lot can happen in the international economy in that 2 years.
Yeah, what do you think is the biggest threat to the Texas economy right now?
Yeah, I think there are several different big threats. And again, we don't just look at the Texas economy, the national economy, but the global economy. And so therefore, obviously trade is one of those issues. Wars, events in other nations, say, for example, with lower oil prices, not just questions of tariffs and questions of trade, but also, for example, here not too long ago, the Saudis increased their oil production. And so therefore, that's going to cause oil prices to decrease. So all of these different things we continue to monitor, watch, and make sure we stay very in tune with the legislature, especially during the legislative session, and make sure the public is aware the trajectory of the state economy.
Well, we've always appreciated having you on the show. Thank you for the past, and maybe we'll get to talk to you a couple more times before your tenure's over.
Sounds great. Good to be with you today.
Thank you very much. After hours of debate and amendments, lawmakers passed the blueprint on how the state spends its money in the next 2 years. It includes $51 billion for property tax relief, more than $70 billion for public schools, and $6.5 billion for border security. Dylan McKim was at the Capitol until late hours, I understand, when it finally passed. Thank you for being here. You tired?
Just a little bit, It was a little bit after 3 a.m. when they finished this, so it's been a long time.
Well, a big headline that we know from that night was when the lawmakers zeroed out the budget for the Lottery Commission and the Texas Film Incentive. But it appears lawmakers were not aware that they did that until after they voted. What happened there?
Yeah, this was really a surprise. And a little backstory for you. The lawmakers were handed their amendment package, which was 469 pages long. That's how many amendments they were going through. And the very first amendment that they even discussed was from an El Paso Democrat, Mayor Mary Gonzalez, and originally her amendment was something very mundane. It was like taking $100,000 from the Arts Commission and putting it somewhere else. And then she came up and said, actually, I have an amendment to my amendment. It's just some technical things. We're going to clean it up. No big deal. People voted through the amendment, and then they voted on the amended amendment. And then about 10 minutes later, they realized, oh my gosh, did you see what the amendment was? And it actually zeroed out the lottery, it zeroed out charitable bingo, and it also zeroed out the Texas Film Incentive Program that Governor Abbott's been boasting about, that we've seen Matthew McConaughey being an advocate for. So this was a huge surprise, and our team was able to speak with the House spokesperson with the House Democrats, who told us this was intentional. The whole reason to do that was because there was a slew of amendments by House Republicans to really pick apart the film incentive program and the Lottery Commission, their budget, and divert those funds to other agencies or maybe different projects in their district. And when they did this, they zeroed it out. Those amendments could not happen anymore because there's no more money in the Lottery Commission. There's no more money in the charitable bingo. So it was a big shock. Will that stay like that? I mean, this is not the official budget yet. They'll go to conference. So this could easily, in the conference between senators and representatives, they could say, well, we're going to take that amendment out and restore the funding to the Lottery Commission. But we know the Lottery Commission is facing a lot of criticism right now, so possibility of being sunset. So there's a chance that they don't have a budget because there's a chance they don't exist.
Well, appreciate the coverage. I know it was a lot to do, but we still have like 7 weeks left in the
We
session.
do. Next session, you can do the budget night, and I'll ask the questions.
Just make sure you get some rest, all right?
Okay.
Thanks, Dylan. Some Texas families are worried about proposed federal cuts to funds that help them buy food. Congress is considering slashing benefits like the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. Texas Health and Human Services data shows nearly 3.6 million people rely on SNAP across the state. As investigator Arzo Dos explains, food pantries are scrambling to keep up with the growing demand already and now bracing for more impact.
We have lamb shank.
Look at you. See, I knew you guys would find something.
Cherie Seeley's list is limited.
It's hard to read. Though.
The breast cancer survivor from Liberty Hill says she can only eat certain things.
It's natural, organic, whatever, because of the cancer.
She says the few items she's able to take from Hill Country Community Ministries in Leander will help, especially after her SNAP benefits were cut earlier this year.
They took off $30 on my SNAP. You don't want to hear on camera what I say about that. It's wrong. It's dead wrong. If you're going to cut stuff, look at who you're cutting.
The food pantry is seeing a surge in families in need.
We are seeing already about an 11 to 12% increase year to date. Last year we served 140,000 people. So you figure about 10% increase or so. We're going to probably serve 150,000 people this next year, which is insane. I mean, out of this tiny food pantry.
What could potential SNAP cuts mean for Texas families?
For every meal our food banks are able to put on the table, SNAP puts 9 meals. So any cut, even a small cut, can really affect, can lead to people losing benefits, and then that leads to more strain on our resources.
Feeding Texas, the state association of food banks, says resources are already stretched. The nonprofit explained that recently the U.S. Department of Agriculture halted millions of dollars worth of deliveries to food banks. The anti-hunger organization shared data from the Texas Department of Agriculture that shows nearly 400 deliveries, including meat, eggs, dairy, and canned vegetables, were canceled statewide in March. They estimate these deliveries were equal to around 270 truckloads of food, valued at about $19.2 million. Feeding Texas says that makes it hard for the food banks in its network, like the Central Texas Food Bank, to meet the current demand, especially with higher food prices.
It's some of the most nutritious food that we can distribute. In some cases, food banks, that makes up about 1/4 to 1/3 of their inventory.
Can I do these two?
Yep. Seeley says even with SNAP benefits, she's barely getting by.
My income is $1,640 some cents for the month. Can you live on that? No. And then they want to cut the other stuff? No. So don't ask me to say what I think.
Arzo Dost for State of Texas.
A bill to repeal Texas's unconstitutional ban on homosexual conduct resurfaces this session at the Capitol. The lawmaker behind this push, and a look back at past sessions.